Good morning everybody, welcome back to So Darn Twisted. It's Becca here as always, because there's only me. Today I'm doing a requested tutorial for different types of flower, cluster, bows, you know, this kind of thing, that I've taken inspiration from quite a few places over the time that I've been doing this kind of thing, because I've been making bows and flowers for years before I discovered the wonders of junk journaling and YouTube tutorials. So aren't I glad I found them in the end? But yeah, so there's inspiration from quite a few, plus a few techniques that I used to use myself. Anyway, if I can remember where some of them came from, I will link them in the description, but for the life of me at the minute, I can't remember. I think I might have seen this layout on Treasure Books, Natasha, but in a slightly different way. Normally I hadn't cut the pieces first when I was making something like this. I used to leave them rounded, so that's a slightly different take on what I'd normally do. And these kind of things are, you know, you'll find tutorials for these everywhere, but yeah, I was asked to make one, so here I am. The beauty of these is it's not limited to like vintage, shabby chic and all that kind of thing. You can make them in various colours, and I'm going to show you a black version as well for use on like your Halloween and Gothic journals and everything, as it's that time of the year. I actually have a little bit of tape with my needle on it there. We don't want that. So I'm going to go through your supplies with you now, and then we'll get started. Alright, now don't get overwhelmed or stressed out when you see all of this. I'm not using everything that's in this box. This is just the tray that I put together for possibilities when I was making some. So I just haven't put it away yet, but yeah, like I say, don't think to yourself, oh, I can't do this because I don't have all of that. You don't need all of this, I promise. So first and most importantly, what you're going to need is some fabric. And lace. So I use everything from like reclaimed fabric from dresses, and you know, like both of these came from a dress, that came from the same dress. You know, there's lots of things that came from the dress. There's, you know, ribbon, lace ribbon that I've picked up from charity shops. There's things I've been sent in swaps. There's you know, when you buy shoes and they come wrapped in those bags, those kind of weird paper stuff, I use that in them as well. You know, so you don't have to have, you know, a myriad of wonderful things. You can just have salvaged things. You know, keeps it in the whole junk sort of theme, doesn't it, really? And then I use a lot of other stuff here. Like this is offcut from some fabric, but it looks really great in amongst a cluster of these. Let me just, I think I've used it in one of these here. Yes, I have. So I've used it in this one here, you know, and you wouldn't look at it and think, oh, that's just been cut off of, you know, whatever it was. I think it was curtains. You know, so it's fine, it's fine. Anything like that, you're going to want a different width of lace and fabric. So you're going to want some that's really wide. If you're using lace, obviously it's pre-made that width, and then sort of slightly thinner still, that kind of thing. So that's it for your base materials. Then you're looking at embellishments. Now they are again very easy, because you can use things like these that I ordered from Shine, I think it was. I've got the butterfly one as well. So they're perfect to just plop one down in the middle. I've got things that I've taken off of hair barrettes. You know, I've got rid of the metalware off of that. I've got paper flowers, some embellishments that came from Shine or Temu, I'm not sure which. You can use wax seals, buttons, salvaged jewellery. You know, that's just some of the stuff that I just collected to use. You know, there's there's lots to choose from. So there's lots of possibilities that hopefully will cover people who haven't got much of a stash yet, but you might still have something, you know, along those lines, especially things like buttons and that you can really pick up easily in charity shops. I also have used some of these beautiful little flowers that I got sent in what's it, Surplus Sunday, in one of my groups. You'll have to apologise, my nails, I was tea dyeing right before I did this, and all my nails are like orange. It's ridiculous. If I'm not covered in food colouring, I'm covered in tea staining or alcohol inks, or I've always got something on my hands. Sign of a creative though, am I right? So yeah, there's lots and lots of choices. And the other thing that you can use as well, you can absolutely put clusters, you know, that you've made. You can pop those on the front of one. You know, instead of just having the embellishment itself, you could put a cluster in the middle and it would just look beautifully effective. So yeah, so there's lots and lots and lots of choices. If we look at, you can have a look in my big box of doom. This is one of my boxes of embellishments that I've collected, and so a lot of these come from like charity shops and stuff like that. I've got a lot of, you know, a lot of jewellery, some of which I use for like ready-made dangles, and some I salvage for the actual beads themselves and things like that. So anything like that, you know, is going to be absolutely fab. I've got these lovely wooden beads, you know, lots of different types of buttons and the like. So, you know, you can put lots of things on them. And lastly, you're going to want some strong cotton, or I use embroidery floss to make sure that it's not going to snap or anything like that. So you're going to want a length of that trimmed down. Doesn't need to be huge, just needs to be, you know, a decent enough size that you can get it around your fabrics. That's too big, but I will explain that in a bit. So the next thing you're going to do is you are going to decide what you're actually putting in your layers. So for this one, I will grab some of the lace on different widths and some ribbon. Yeah, some nice ribbon that kind of stands out against but still complements. So just making sure everything's in frame here, let's hope so. Okay, so base layers first. So if we find the thicker lace, there it is, and we can start off with a piece of that. Now, size depends on what size you want your final one to be. I am going to get my proper fabric scissors, and I'm not going to make this one excessively wide, so we're just going to kind of go to about there. So it's about the length of my hand, you know. Like I say, measurements, they don't matter, not for this. The only thing you need to do is eyeball decreasing sizes and angles, so you'll be fine. So then I would get maybe a piece of this mesh, and I'm going to lay that over directly, and I'm going to cut that at approximately the same size. Right, that's that one in. Then we're going to start building the other layers. So the next thing that I would do is I will take maybe a piece of this. I got sent this, I think it's like tea-dyed net curtain, which is absolutely fantastic. You know, it's like I never thought of that. Not that I have net curtains in my house, but you know, I'm not particularly offended by them, but my husband thinks that that they're just wrong and we should only ever have blinds. I'm not entirely sure why. So what I'm going to do there is I'm going to cut that down, and I'm just going to kind of lay those on a crisscross. Oh, I'm going to have it so that the design is facing upwards though. Okay, so that is now going to be like the thing that I work over, that's going to gauge my size all the way around that sort of edge there to give you that nice shape. So then I would grab some other fabric, some other material. So we'll have a piece of this, and I'm going to want it to be shorter than the piece that's already there. And again, I'm going to cut that. The beauty of this is that there's no, as I say, there's no measurement really needed. You just need to be able to look and you'll see what you need. So I'm going to put another piece of that in that way. And then I will have some of this, which I think I've got some already cut. Yes, okay. It doesn't matter if it's jaggy, it doesn't matter if it's, you know, it doesn't have to be straight, it can be whatever you want. But again, just that little bit smaller than what you had before. And the thing is with these kind of things is they don't really take on life until they're done. It's bizarre, but you know, they just look a bit flat and a bit boring until you sort of do the big ta-da at the end. So let's get that one. I'm going to cut that one down thinner. I apologise that there's been a distinct lack of tutorials. I had a fall last week, which I fall all the time. Like, you know, it's not usually a big deal or anything, but I injured myself. I think I've cracked a rib or something because I'm not having a good time. And I just haven't had the energy to actually I've not had the energy to like come and sit and do this, and I've been a bit too sore to actually just walk up the stairs as well, so that was a bit of a no. So I'm filming now. I'm going to film a couple of tutorials today while I'm up to it. So again, we're just doing that kind of crisscross. Now you can make these as thick as you want by keep layering things, you know, crisscross, a little bit straight, crisscross, a little bit straight. You know, you can go nuts, do what you want to do, because again, there's no rules. And I can't actually find where I have put the little bit of lace I wanted to use. There it is, it's hiding. Yeah, you just keep going until you think, oh, I like that, I'm happy. If you're going to use it within a journal, keep it on the thinner side, you know, less layers, because once you put the embellishment and everything on there, it will be a bit too thick and you will end up not being able to use it inside. But if it's going on a cover or anything like that, then, you know, you just go for it. And again, I'm going to make that piece shorter than the previous pieces. So as you can see, it's not a lot, but it's a bit, you know. And we're just going to pop that one down in the middle. Okay, fantastic, right? How easy is that? So I'm going to leave that one there as far as layers go. Let's just tie this off, because I detest flying around all over the place. And if, like me, you get really annoyed with your ribbon just, you know, sort of uncurling and being a bit of a muppet, I use these clips, these hair clips, and I just do that and then it stays put. So that makes my life easier. Now, what I find the best thing to do here is just kind of gather it like that. Let me turn it that way so maybe you guys can see it a little bit easier. And then I'm going to put my finger in the middle and I'm going to push those two ends towards the center. Okay, like that. Now at this point, if you think you might struggle, use a clamp and just clamp that closed, you know. But if you're okay to just kind of squash it down and hold it, grand, which is all I do. But you do what you need to do. And then I'm just going to kind of hold that and pull nice and tight. Okay, fantastic. Okay, right. And then I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to tie another knot while keeping the tension on, you know, on the join point to make sure that it doesn't come loose. I'll pull that again nice and tight and then just do another. So I'm basically just doing a square knot here. Okay, fantastic. So what I'm going to do with this piece of ribbon is I'm going to just pull that down so it creates a little tail. The kink in the ribbon will fall out. very soon. Then I'm just going to kind of, you know, pull things around a little bit just till I'm kind of happy with how that looks. You know, and again, it will depend on how many layers you have and what materials you've actually used, you know. And then you'll go, oh yeah, okay, I like it like that. At this point, you can trim it to round it a little bit more if you want to, or just like any kind of ugly edges that you're not keen on, just nick those off. You know, I'm just going to kind of round that off slightly just so it's not quite as aggressively sharp there at the top. And that is your first one made. Now what I do is I make 5 or 6 of these and then I embellish them, but obviously I already made a handful yesterday, so I'm not going to go down that route now. I'm just going to show you the one of this. So now we're going to choose an embellishment, and as I say, there's lots of options here. I love these. I absolutely adore them. I think they're beautiful. So I might go for something like that, or I might go for a cluster that's got one on already. So let's see. Oh yes, look at that. Just look at that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use hot glue to fix that on. So I'm just going to get a good amount on my backing ribbon there, and then I'm just going to kind of pop that straight down in the middle and give it a nice push. And at this point, if you've got any bits that you want to sit in a certain place that aren't sitting exactly where you want, pull them around, because the hot glue will then pin them in the place that you want them to be. Well, it will help to do it. So, and there you go. I mean, it really is ridiculously simple, is it not? You know, at this point, you can either cut these off, or I tend to leave them on mine in case I want to tie them to something. And I'll only cut the string off if I, you know, once I'm actually going to use it and I know that I don't need it, then I'll cut it off kind of thing, but I don't bother otherwise. So there you go. That is the first one done. I mean, how easy do you want this to be, right? Okay. So now we will make, let me see, we will make one of these. So for this, I used some of this kind of transparent shimmery fabric. It's not quite tulle, but it's yeah, it's not quite chiffon, it's not quite tulle, it's very, very weird. Very weird indeed. Okay, so I'm just gonna cut myself a length of this, and again, you know, the width of it is dependent on how thick you want your flower to be, you know, kind of from the center point to the edge. But if you make it too big, it's not a problem, you can just trim it down at the end anyway. So, you know, just experiment, because if you're not happy with it, you can just take it apart and start again. You know, it's not all that tricky. So I'm going to just kind of overlay those, make sure they're about the same length kind of thing. So let's get those out of the way for a second. And then what I'm going to do, I think this is the one that I saw Natasha do at Treasure Books. I think, oh, do you know, I lose track. It was so long ago. Well, I say so long ago, like I've been doing this for, it's nearly 11 months now. And you know, at the beginning, you just try to absorb everything, but you don't actually make notes. And then you start doing these things and you forget where you learned them from. It's ridiculous. The amount of times I've spent like hours trying to search for a person and a particular tutorial, because I've forgotten how to do it, or yeah, it's ridiculous. So I'm just going to hold that with my thumb against my small finger there, and I'm just going to wrap those. Don't pull them tight, you know, and we're just going to kind of wrap them around like that. Okay, then I'm just going to pop them down there because they'll stay quite nicely where they are. So I'm just going to cut, you know, another length of that. And I'm just going to put it down on there, get hold of the roll, flip it over. Okay. And then I'm going to just push, as I pull the string, the thread, I'm just kind of pushing the sides inwards as well. And then we're going to do exactly the same process of flipping it over, keeping the tension on it with your other fingers, and then pulling that nice and tight, and then double knotting that. Okay, fabulous. And again, I will leave those attached. Now you have two choices here. What I tend to do then is I'll just trim down those tail pieces before I lose them. Okay, then what we're going to do is we are going to take our scissors and we're just going to kind of just trim around like that, and just make sure that you've gone through all of your layers. I've ended up with a random piece there, we'll just get rid of that. And then we'll do the same on this side to make sure everything is pointing upwards. And if you've done your knot in the middle a little bit off center, you can just trim it down now to match, kind of thing. So like this is a little bit too far that way, so I can just trim that down like so to get it a little bit more even. There we go. Fantastic. Then you're going to get your pieces and you're going to fold them one at a time, one layer at a time, towards the middle. So you're going to kind of do half that way, then I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to take these layers and pull them towards the middle on the back, so that I'll end up with something that looks like that. Okay, same thing this side. Just pull it, don't pull it too hard because you risk moving your binding string. If you didn't make sure it was really nice and tight, you can actually end up moving it if you pull too hard. So there's no need, just a firm, you know, you're going over there whether you want to or not kind of thing. There we go. And then just kind of smoosh, technical term as always, just smoosh them around until you're happy with how it looks. And obviously keep those out of the way. There we go. That is really that simple. You know, it really is just a case of doing that. Now this one, because I used I could have really used some extra layers to bulk this one out that way, but I actually want something that's going to be a little bit less bulky, so this one will squash a lot flatter than that one can, because that one's got more layers in it. So this one I could use within a journal if I put a flat enough embellishment on it, you know, like a button, for example, with some, you know, some nice coloured embroidery thread through the middle of it, just to, you know, just to make it look like it's been sewn on. You can of course just sew it on, that's entirely up to you, but I am more likely to just do my fake button thing. Gotta love a good fake button. So all I do here is I'm just pulling that down nice and tight, and I'm just going to pop that through just a couple of times. Just like I say, it gives the illusion of it having been sewn. Oh, if I could actually get hold of the cotton though, that would be immensely useful. There we go. Nearly pulled that all the way then, didn't I? Now I'm just going to tie that in a knot behind. And then those I'll just trim just so they're not sticking out, you know. I don't want to take off everything, but I don't want them to be sticking out the side either. And then the hot glue will just keep that thread closed anyway. So I just pop a little bit around. I try not to put it directly over the holes, because when you push it down, the glue can come through and look a bit sort of, you know, a bit ugly. So I tend to put it around the sides more than over the holes themselves. And again, now that I've got that glue in place, I'm just going to smoosh that around a bit more and let the glue hold it. And there you go. There's another one to go on, you know, like I say, that can go on the front of a folio or anything like that. And it's thin enough that it won't cause a major issue. So that's that one. And then the last one I will do will be, let's use this really blue fabric. I can't remember. I think this came in a batch of fabric remnants that I bought. I got some, yeah, I got a hell of a lot of fabric for a really low price. It was fantastic. Had to wait about a week and a half for it to arrive, but you know, I can deal with that. So I'm just going to kind of fold this in half like that, and I'm just going to kind of just give it a little bit of help to crease down that middle bit. You can use a bone folder, or you know, an old debit card, or whatever you want. We're only just getting it to kind of remember that shape for us, you know. And then I will get some cotton, and I'm gonna double it, so I'm gonna want it to be a bit long. Yeah, I decided to not let you just watch while I struggle to thread a needle, because like hand tremors make it really tricky. And I've tried those you know, the ones that have got the little slip bit at the top, and they just don't work for me, so I get really fed up with that. Okay, so I'm going to go in, and then I'm going to come back out again over here, and I pull that through, and then with the little knot that I made there at the end, I'm just going to use that as an anchor point. So we're just going to pop the needle through it and then pull it tight, and then that's created a nice anchor point for me. Okay, like that. And then I'm just going to get that raw edge, and I'm just going to kind of tie that off with a bit of a blanket stitch, just to get me a nice lock on it. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to go along the length. You know, you can make these wider, shallower, you know, mine average at about 1 centimetre, I suppose, just over 1 centimetre for the gaps. But if you've got a lot of fabric, you can make them thicker. If you've got less fabric, you can make them thinner. Oh, while I'm flapping along with this, so while I was all broken from my spectacular, I have to say, fall down the stairs, I hit the 1,500 subscriber mark, which happened a lot quicker than I thought it was going to, but I'm really happy, obviously, and I'm gonna do the giveaway video. Is going to be this Saturday, which is the 7th, I think. So I'm going to be doing my live at 8:30 p.m. UK time. But like I always say, if you go onto Google and select 8:30 GMT and then 2, whatever your time zone code is, so you know, like PST, or you know, CST, whatever your time zone is, or your country, it will tell you what the time would be for your country. So you know, because this giveaway is international, you know, so that's really useful. And what I'm giving away is a journal of a choice of themes. There will be traditional vintage, steampunk, gothic, or shabby chic, kind of, you know, florally, that kind of thing. So you will choose, whoever wins will choose which journal they want, and obviously then I will make it specifically for them, which I think will be nice, you know, just to say, okay, this is especially for you, rather than I made this and this is what you're going to be winning, which there's nothing wrong with doing that. I've done similar myself, but I thought it'd be nice to do something different. So as you can see, I've just slid this all the way down the cotton as tight as I can get it to bunch, and now I'm just going to make a little knot on the end just to make sure that that keeps that sort of tight tension on it for me. And then I'll just do it again, one more, and what I'll do is just pull that around there like a blanket stitch, you know, and then I know that that's not going to start coming undone. So I'm going to turn that over, and we're going to go back to the beginning where we made our first knot in that first pleat over here, and we're going to make a knot in there to pull it closed. So let's just get that across like so. Now at this point you might want to just kind of wiggle things around, you know, to make sure that they're sitting nicely before you finish tying them. So I'm going to get that to there because I like it there. So yeah, well, what I'm going to be doing though is I'm not announcing the winner on the live this time, like I have done before, because so many people, you know, message me and say, oh my god, I'm so sad because I missed it and I missed out, and you know, or much like myself with a lot of the American giveaways, if they're done late in the evening, it's, you know, sort of early hours of the morning here, so I can't participate in their lives. So you know, I totally understand the frustration there. And I've just developed a lovely knot in this. That's okay, we can fix it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the live and have a catch up with whoever wants to come and join. Might make something while we're there, you know, a little something. And we're just tying this now just into a double knot, by the way. And then I will move it over to my Facebook group, whereby I will be asking people to talk about something on the live, something that that happened, something they liked, you know, that kind of thing, so that I know that they have come and watched the live, because I will upload it, you know. So I think that way it's just going to enable more people to take part than would have been able to otherwise. So what I'm doing here is I'm getting the first pleat and the last pleat, and I'm just kind of pinching them together just here, and I'm just going to secure them properly now, like so, ignoring that extra bit that knotted that I've made another knot with, just to make sure it stays put. So I'm just double knotting that, and then I'm just going to do a really sort of small little blanket stitch just to join those together. So make sure you do this on whichever side you want as your back, otherwise it will look really ugly on the front, and we don't want that, do we? Okay, and then when I've got to the end, I'm just going to do a couple of knots just to secure that. You don't have to use any particular stitch to do this part, you know. I like blanket stitch for this because it kind of locks it nicely, but you can use whatever stitch you want. Just like a running stitch is absolutely fine. So then I'm just gonna just tie that off, and then this one I will be trimming because I know that this is going to be going glued onto something afterwards, and I can cut off that knotty bit as well now. So okay, so now here is my nice ruffle, and I'll just sort of distribute that nice and evenly to suit my taste, and then we'll get a little embellishment. What do we have? One of those would look kind of nice. I think Marion sent me these. Was it you, Marion? I think it might have been. Oh, that's quite nice actually, just that little wax seal over it. Oh, I like that. Okay, that's what's going on there then. If you're going to use hot glue with wax seals though, a little word of caution: don't put your hot glue straight onto the back of your wax seal, it will just melt it. put your hot glue on and just leave it for a few seconds, because it's a nice big blob, so it'll take, you know, take a little bit to dry, but or to set, you know, so you can leave it just for a couple of minutes, and then just, not a couple of minutes, but you know what I mean, you know, just so that it's not as scorchingly hot. All right, we should be okay there now. So we're just going to pop that down. And now that's not going to cause our wax seal to go all blistery, because I made that mistake myself just the other day and it all kind of bubbled up on one of my clusters and I was really disappointed. So there you go. That's really cute, isn't it? So you can just pop that onto the, you know, onto a journal or the front of a folio. Because it's thick cotton, it will probably be a little bit too thick to go into your journal, but it depends on how big your gaps are between your signatures and the like, you know. So there we go. There we have multiple things, multiple flowers and bows and everything. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how to make a slightly different take on these, the way that I used to do them, with some black fabric and lace. All right then, so we'll get started and make a black version using a slightly different method. Now for this one, I've just pulled out some lace and some fabric strip scraps. Most of this is from reclaimed clothing, which is just such a wonderful way to accumulate stuff. Some of it I've been sent like this as gift, and I was sent some of these beautiful black lace butterflies as well. I've picked out one of my black unfinished clusters there, you know, so there's a myriad of things. I've got little satin bows, and in here I have a wealth of things to choose from, but we'll go through those and find something shortly. First things first, let's get the base part made. So again, we're going to follow a very similar process. Well, it's kind of a hybrid actually between a couple of those other ones. So I'm just going to kind of lay out what I've got just so that I can eyeball it, you know, and know what I want to use. So I've got some really stiff proper sort of tulle here, as well as some softer one, because obviously soft things drape, stiff things hold shape, so there's, you know, reason to use all of that within something like this. So I've got those. I'll have a bit of this in there because it's just really nice. What else? And I think I'm going to put a colour contrast in this, you know, maybe the purple, or I think purple or red. Oh no, it's going to have to be red now that I've put the red there and seen it. So, well, this is a no-brainer. Okay, so these are the bits that I'm going to use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of get them, I'm going to say it's quite a similar method in some ways to one of the others, and it doesn't matter if they're different lengths. Don't worry about that, it's fine. So we'll put them just layered, you know, and you can stagger them as well, so that if they aren't the right, you know, all the same length, you can kind of get them roughly right. Let's have some of that nice stiff tulle there, which is enormously too long. It's okay if it's some, but I was like, you know, a good 6 or 7 inches too long. So let's see, what have we got here? We can bundle that in, and we can pop that in, and then we'll have the nice red, which again is too long, so I'm gonna trim it and have a couple of pieces spread like so. Another bit of lace, which again has got absolutely plenty on there for me to have twice, which is useful, and a bit to cut off to go into my cluster tub. Gotta have a cluster tub for each theme or colour. Right, so now that I've got all those like that, I'm just going to kind of bunch them like this, okay? And I'm just going to kind of grip it and I'm gonna twist. And that one that has come loose, but it can go onto this last bit, that's fine. So I'm just gonna wrap. Okay, it's not very neat, it's not very precise, but it works. All right, I should have not worn my rings though, because now I've got lace caught under my rings. Okay, so I'm just gonna take that, make sure that the middle is kind of nice and clear. Doesn't matter if bits start to come away at the moment, don't fret. Then I'm going to take a bit of cotton or embroidery thread, or even just another bit of ribbon. Actually, it'd be quite nice. Got some thin ribbon there, that will do the trick. So I'm then going to kind of go, all right, where's my centre point? That bit of tulle does not want to stay put, does it? Crikey. Okay, so I'm going to find my centre point roughly. I'm going to grab my ribbon and I'm just going to kind of loop it around the back there, and then I'm just going to kind of pinch it and see, like, does it need adjusting, which it does. It's not quite far enough over that way, you know, so this is the point where it's easy to make those adjustments. It's harder to make them later with this particular way, this method. So once you're happy that it's sort of pretty close to the middle, we're just gonna, again, holding it down with my little finger and doing the knot, and again flip it over, make sure any bits that are supposed to be facing one way are going that way. Yeah, there we go. And then we're going to do like we did before, and we're just going to tie a couple of little knots just to make sure that that's not going anywhere. Nice little square knot. There we go. Fantastic. And again, I'm going to leave those. Now, what you're going to do here is you are going to start pulling your layers out sideways. Okay, so some of them might be where they folded over, you might have to kind of pick and pull, but that's okay. So we're just going to keep pulling, separating, and just making sure that we've got some sort of definition going on of our layers. Okay, so it's going to kind of look like that. And then we're going to flip it over and we're going to do the same as say. Some of them are going to hang down, and that's cool because it adds to it. You know, you don't need to worry about making sure that it's a particular point as you're folding, you know, and whatnot. And then pulling. Alright, so I'm happy now that I've got my layers all nice and separated. And they're all kind of doing their nice big smooshy thing. And I've got some nice tails hanging down here. If there's any that are a bit ugly, you know, trim them off, tuck them, you know, around, do whatever you want to do. You might decide that you prefer a different side, you know, which is fine. Just pick whichever one you want to be your front and which one that you want to be your back, and make sure that all the bits are sitting as you would like them to sit. Fantastic. So there we go, that's looking all lovely. So I'm just gonna, I do want to just trim that down, and I would seal these off with a lighter as well when I am done. You can obviously, it would have been better to do it before using it, but I don't think about these things, like, you know, it's just a matter of do what I want to do and then deal with the chaos later. What I do want to do is I just want to get that red loop kind of further up, so I'm just going to feed it over and under a couple of the other layers, just so I can get it sat up there a bit more. That's it, 'cause that way I've got some red on the top and on the bottom on both sides. All right, oh, doesn't that look pretty? Love it, absolutely love it. So now the only thing that you need to do is attach your either your cluster or your embellishment. You know, obviously if I use the cluster, I would then find something from the stash, you know, something that kind of fit with the theme that I've got going on here. Don't really want any steampunky bits, if I'm honest. What else do we have? Oh, that's kind of nice, isn't it? Nice little skull. I'm not sure that the gold really goes, to be honest with you. What else have I got here? You know, when you know, it's got to be the right thing, but you just don't know what that right thing actually is until you pick it up, and then you go, that's the one. That's what I should have had. And again, here I have got loads of reclaimed jewellery and stuff like that. You know, there's a lot of that kind of thing in here. Like these were earrings, you know, which actually, that would look beautiful, wouldn't it? There we go. I don't even need to look in the other one now. It's happened. So what I'm going to do is I am going to get that through my cluster. There we go. Yeah, it had hot glue, so obviously it's a little bit on the stiff side. But then I would just take a little bit of hot glue and just put it around that post from the earring. And then obviously a little bit widespread around for it to stick to your cluster bow. So what are we going to have? We're going to have that there. And then you can use the earring post, you know, to kind of push it down into the cluster and into the bow. So now that will sit beautifully on a journal cover, or you know, anything of that kind. You can, if you want to, you can snip some of them to make them sit a bit looser, you know. Sometimes I do that, sometimes I prefer to keep them all nice and sort of, you know, a few bits that are rounded and just the ones that were already there sticking out to still be sticking out. But that's entirely your choice, your call. Do whatever you're happiest with. And as before, when the hot glue is still hot, maneuver anything that you want to maneuver, and it will help to keep it where you want it. So there we go, guys. I mean, I reckon that we've done okay there. It's not been that long, you know, but I didn't do that one today. That one was a demo one. But you know, there's a few different methods there that I think work really, really nicely. As I say, if I can remember where I've seen one of them, I think, as I say, and I do think it was Treasure Books, but I will check that if I can. But obviously things like these, you'll see tutorials for them everywhere. It's hard to pin down, you know, who did it first, kind of. So you end up crediting the wrong person, you know, because they saw it from someone else but didn't say, or you know, so it can be a bit tricky actually to find who originally decided that that was a good idea. But there you go, 4 different ways of doing something, 4 different ways of creating something lovely to go on or in your journals. So I hope that you have enjoyed watching this, guys. I hope, as always, that you've learned something fun to do. You know, if you're not all running off to your lace and ribbon and embellishment pile right after this video, I'm going to be most disappointed. But no, if you have picked up a new technique or a new tip or something like that, leave me a comment, let me know. If there's a way that you like to do something like this, feel free to leave me a comment and let me know about that as well, because I always like to see new methods of doing things. Don't forget that the giveaway is this coming Saturday, say 8:30 p.m. UK time, which is GMT for when you're Googling conversions. And I will see you in the next tutorial or the live, whichever one happens first. Take care, guys, and happy crafting.